An in-depth look at a Cameroonian who was seeking political asylum in the United States. Fears grow over malaria resurgence as a London summit urges global action. And how a Nigerian designer is using fashion to improve the lives of women. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCorry. This is Africa 54. In recent months, violent clashes erupted in southern Cameroon between the English-speaking Cameroonians and the government-led and predominantly French-speaking citizens from the north. In October 2017, the Anglophones declared an independent state they call Ambazonia, and the crisis escalated. Africa 54's Estegido Ewart has a report on a Cameroonian who is seeking asylum in America.
Nwangu Tembe Diedone hails from Bamenda, the epicenter of the crisis in the Anglophone region of Cameroon. He first spoke to me on the telephone before we could get him to come to our studios on his one-year journey to escape death in his home country.
It took me almost 1 year from my date of departure to the day I successfully got into the United States, legally entered the border and went straight to immigration in San Diego in California.
His arrival in the U.S. was not easy. He says he walked from Cameroon to Nigeria, where he took a flight to Ecuador because Cameroonian passport holders can enter Ecuador visa-free. Even though he does not speak Spanish, his journey continued to Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, and then to America. He tells me, like many from southern Cameroon, he was tortured by the military forces before being taken to a detention center.
They suspend you upside down. They put handcuffs in your hands and then pass your hands across your feet, and then the machine suspends you upside down so you cannot do anything because you're tied and suspended.
He was arrested 4 times, and to secure his freedom, he had to denounce the Southern Cameroon National Movement.
They forced us to sign a document that we will never be part of the Southern Cameroon's National Council movement again, or will never take part in anything that is against the government.
After a rigorous security check, we were finally able to get Nwangu into VOA headquarters here in Washington. I asked him why he was emotional.
These emotions is coming just from everywhere. My past situation and the present situation of my people who are actually on the ground. As we are talking right now, there is a life that has just been taken away as we are talking. This is fact.
The crisis in southern Cameroon continues with killings of civilians as well as security officers. Thousands of civilians continue to run for their safety as their houses are burned to the ground. I asked Nwangu what he thought was the real reason behind the crackdown.
To be honest, what I think they have as interest in their fight is just economics. Economics in terms of they have an eye on the raw materials. They have an eye on the cash crops. They have an eye on the potentials of the people. They have an eye on our intelligence.
You call it the nation of Ambazonia, but as far as the United Nations is concerned, Cameroon is one country.
The United Nations, they have a written document on that table. They know it clearly that the Southern Cameroon is a nation. But what brings tears down my face is why they don't want to talk.
But according to what we read in the history of how Cameroon came about, is the Southerners decided no, they did not want to join the Federal Republic of Nigeria, so yes, they chose to join Cameroon, knowing they speak English and the other part speaks French. What changed?
They joined La République du Cameroon not to be part of La République du Cameroon. As a federal nation, you manage your affairs, I manage my affairs. And then when we get strong in terms of our military power, economic, logistics, in everything, we are going to be able to stand on our own.
Last week, 1/3 of Cameroonian athletes attending the Commonwealth Games in Australia went missing. It is suspected they do not want to return to their politically divided country. Many Cameroonian religious leaders are calling for a frank and inclusive dialogue as a solution to the crisis. Estegido Ewart, VOA News, Washington.
Well, tomorrow we bring you a sneak preview of the movie Patriots, produced by Nwangu Tembe Diedone, highlighting the conflict between Anglophone separatists and the government. So be sure to watch Africa 54 on Friday. Now, 3 men are facing life in prison for plotting to blow up a council's apartment complex that is home to Muslim migrants from Somalia. A federal court convicted all 3 men Wednesday. U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions said, and I quote, the defendants in the case acted with clear premeditation in an attempt to kill people on the basis of their religion and national origin. Prosecutors say the 3 defendants wanted to park 4 cars packed with explosives around the apartment complex and detonate them, destroying the building and likely killing everyone inside. 53 member states are in London this week for the biannual Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. And for the first time in 20 years, the summit is being hosted in London. This year's summit is tackling climate change, international development, trade and investment. Britain sees this meeting as a chance to reconnect with its former colonies and revitalize the loose alliance of the Commonwealth countries. It's also an opportunity for African leaders to reassure the international community of stability in their countries as they hope to draw foreign direct investment to drive their economies. Now, Britain wants to boost trade with its historic partners as it prepares to quit the European single market after Brexit. Now, for more on Commonwealth Summit, Henry Ridgewell joins me live via Skype from London. Good evening, Henry.
Good evening, Vincent.
Well, a big day in London, but first let us in on why this particular meeting, this summit, is actually of significance to Britain.
Well, as you mentioned there, it's of big significance to Britain, really, because the country faces a crossroads in its future. It's less than a year now until Britain leaves the European Union. And once it does that, it severs its ties with the bloc that has really formed the basis of its economy and its foreign policy for the past 40 or 50 years. So it's looking for a new future. And some lawmakers here, some commentators see the Commonwealth, which effectively came out of the breakdown of the British Empire in the last century, as the future. They think that Britain should rekindle those links and try to boost trade and to boost economic ties with those countries to try to make up for any trade losses after Brexit. But I think this also goes deeper than economics. This is also about British identity. Some critics say that those who are in favour of the European Union in favour of leaving the European Union have a golden view of British history. Its greatest period was during the Empire days. And so there's a big argument going on about the role that the Commonwealth should play, questions that go deep into British identity and the purpose of the Commonwealth itself.
Now, talking about history and the Commonwealth, you know, some see the Commonwealth as a relic of a distant colonial era. What is in it for African countries, for example?
Well, having said all of those criticisms of the Commonwealth, all of the leaders of those countries have showed up, and they see it as a valuable platform, a valuable resource where they are given an equal hearing alongside bigger powers like Canada, like Britain, like India, where their voice is heard and where they can put forward their proposals for investment, for aid, their ideas on combating terrorism and climate change, where, of course, all voices in these debates are equal. So, for example, we saw the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, saying he was here to appeal to Commonwealth leaders that South Africa is an economy worth investing in again. So I think any global platform that does allow smaller countries a voice is seen as something of value.
So what are some of the other issues that are being discussed there that are of note, especially for African countries?
For the Commonwealth itself, the leadership of the bloc is a big issue. Some argue that the Queen, after she passes away, that the leadership of the Commonwealth should rotate among its smaller members as well. So that's a bigger question for the Commonwealth. Some of the policy issues that are being debated here include investment and aid, with Britain seeking to divert more of its aid through the Commonwealth as it sees the organisation grow in importance. Investment in economies like South Africa, like Zimbabwe, like Gambia, which has just returned to the Commonwealth, which are in need of investment, in need of stability, and are really here to say to the rest of the world, we are investable. The environment is playing a big role here as well. There are proposals to tackle plastic waste, to tackle greater Commonwealth focus on climate change, and also malaria. Bill Gates was speaking at the conference yesterday, the founder of Microsoft, and of course he's given billions of dollars over the years and pledged another billion as we see a resurgence of the disease over the course of the past couple of years. So it's a varied program here at the summit, which will finalize tomorrow.
Well, Henry, thank you very much for your reporting there.
Good to be with you.
That's Henry Ridgewell reporting live via Skype from London. Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Now coming up, experts sound the alarm over the resurgence of malaria. Stay with us.
This is a country that I chose to become a citizen. I didn't have to become a citizen. I chose to become a citizen.
I feel like America gave me an opportunity to pursue my passion as an artist.
I really believe that clean eating is a way to a more successful life, or a happier life, if you want to put it that way.
One of the things that helps me wake up every morning is doing better, being better.
We grew up poor, and so I'm always focused on helping the working class be able to have a more comfortable lifestyle.
I'm passionate about doing justice every day. I oftentimes say that justice is a verb, not a noun. You know, I believe in action and moving the ball forward.
Well, it's time for a health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Madu with news on the Malaria Commonwealth Summit. Lino.
That's right, Vincent. After 16 years of steady decline, malaria cases are again on the rise worldwide. Experts warn that unless efforts to tackle the disease are stepped up, the gains could be lost. Again, here is Henry Ridgewell reporting from the Commonwealth Summit in London, where delegates are calling for a boost in funding for global anti-malarial programs.
So this is the adult stage of the parasite, which will impact.
Microsoft founder Bill Gates has ploughed billions of dollars into tackling malaria. It has paid off. Deaths from the disease have fallen by more than 60% between 2000 and 2015. That is 7 million lives saved. But in 2016, that trend reversed, with more than 216 million cases in 91 countries, an increase of 5 million on 2015. On the sidelines of this week's London Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, Gates told delegates, including several African leaders, the fight against malaria must be stepped up.
If we don't keep innovating, we will go backwards. If we don't maintain the commitments that we're making here today, malaria would go back up and kill over 1 million children a year, because the drugs and the insecticides always are evaded by the mosquito and the parasite.
Malaria is estimated to cost the African economies more than $12 billion per year and consumes up to 40% of national healthcare budgets. children and pregnant women are most severely affected. The increase in cases is likely caused by a number of factors.
We're seeing quite dramatic increases in the resistance to the insecticides that we use to control the insect vector populations, and that has been really the mainstay of the gains, and very remarkable gains, that we've seen over the last few years. And we're just beginning to see that the parasites are starting to develop resistance to the drugs that we use to treat them.
The fight against malaria will likely get harder.
And we've gained what might be called the easier gains, and now we've got the harder ones to do, and they take even greater implementation and newer tools to allow us to look at where transmission is taking place.
Such new tools cost money, but funding has plateaued. At the Commonwealth Conference, Britain pledged more than $2 billion to fight the disease, while Bill Gates put forward another $1 billion and urged the international community to step up its efforts. Henry Ridgwell for VOA News, London.
A new study by the World Health Organization says the southeastern U.S. city of Miami is at risk of a deadly yellow fever outbreak. The city does not check travelers arriving from endemic zones. The WHO issued the study online ahead of its publication in the Bulletin of the World Health Organization. Yellow fever, spread by the same mosquito that causes Zika virus, causes symptoms including muscle pain and vomiting. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control says the sickness is a very rare cause of illness in the United States at travelers. The study, International Travel and the Urban Spread of Yellow Fever, shows that almost 3 million people flew to America from endemic yellow fever areas in 2016. 9.5 million people live in areas like Miami that are ecologically suitable for an outbreak. The U.S. does not require the yellow fever vaccination certificate. In today's Ask the Expert segment, we spoke with Dr. Ken Redcross, a concierge doctor and internal medicine specialist, and asked him, why is it important for some travelers to take a yellow fever vaccine?
Yellow fever is a mosquito-borne disease. A little more common, and the problem is that it can be fatal. It's fatal because it can cause liver failure, it can cause kidney failure, it can even cause what's called a coagulopathy, which is a long word that means that it causes a problem with our blood clotting, and that's an issue. So it needs to be addressed. There was even a newer case a couple of months ago in Brazil. And in Brazil we had 10 cases, 4 have passed away, but none of them got the vaccine. So that's why it's important to really drive down the message that the yellow fever vaccine is necessary. And if you look at the map, actually, it's almost kind of in the center of Africa. A little bit, the north is a little spared and the south is a little spared. And it's interesting when you go to South America because it's all of Brazil and then you go a little bit west. And those are the regions that if you're traveling there that you want to make sure you get the yellow fever vaccine. The other question I'll get to is it a good vaccine? And I can jump up and down and say, absolutely. It confers 90% immunity, and that's huge as a vaccine goes. So 90% protection, sometimes it's lifelong protection. And then for those who kind of travel regularly, I would say every 10 years to get your yellow fever vaccine, okay. But it is important.
And that was Dr. Ken Redcross speaking about the importance of a yellow fever vaccine for some travelers. If you have a medical question that you would like to have answered, well, tweet me at Lenore Moudou, and we'll have a medical expert respond to your query. And that's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter at Lenore Moudou. Vincent, back to you.
Well, Lenore, thank you very much. And I'll be sure to watch Lenore Moudou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. And it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. Nigerian fashion designer Vivian Agbakoba shares her latest looks. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Africa 54. And here's what's trending. Colorful and oozing defiance, a sports-friendly version of abaya gown was once considered a symbol of cultural rebellion in conservative Saudi Arabia, but it's fast becoming the new normal. Cultural purists aren't happy, saying the garments are a breach of tradition. But opposition has been largely muted following recent comments from powerful Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman that the abaya, any abaya, is not mandatory in Islam. Women exercising in public were a target for the kingdom's austere religious police, which has largely been neutered in recent years. Well, next up, cocktails are gaining a more healthy reputation in some Hollywood bars and restaurants. Bartenders are pouring some crafty concoctions using wellness ingredients such as chia seeds and kombucha tea. They're also going green environmentally. Aaron Polsky of the Harvard Stone Bar infuses Earl Grey tea, saffron, and coriander into special drinks, as well as Kashmiri chilies and Szechuan peppercorns. Fruit garnishes are sugar-soaked to be used for syrups and cordials. And pepper, not plastic. Straws are provided only upon request. Well, and finally, a pop star Pink graced the cover of People magazine's annual Beautiful People issue. She was chosen for what the celebrity publication called a role model who embodies honesty and confidence. The Beautiful issue, which included Meghan Markle, among more than 70 other female celebrities and 5 men. The annual list used to be called Most Beautiful Woman, but the magazine says it was renamed to make clear that the issue is not a beauty contest. Markle, the former Suits actress who is set to marry Britain's Prince Harry next month, was included in a section called Beautiful Inside and Out, along with tennis champion Serena Williams and the 4 female stars of superhero movie Black Panther, including, of course, Lupita Nyong'o. And that's what's trending today. Now, Vivian Agbakoba sat down with us to talk about her new spring collection and the inspiration behind her new line of clothing. The Nigerian designer is a spokesperson for global fans and uses fashion as a tool to improve the lives of women around the world.
Anya by Vivian. Anya was derived from my maiden last name. It's an Igbo language. I come from Nigeria, from the Igbo tribe. It means eye, it means vision. It's about the way you see things. I had to search inward to figure out, how do I see people? How do I see women? How do I see life? How do I see beauty? In our logo, it says beautiful in every form. So it doesn't matter what form people come in, you're beautiful. And we would make you look beautiful. I am one of the spokespersons for the Global Fund organization. I was drawn to them because of the amazing work they do globally regarding women and young girls, especially, which is my own area that I love to work with. They do amazing work around the world, taking care of and providing resources and funds for people with HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. My role and my goal is to be able to make an impact in the world. So it doesn't matter where it is. I will go there if I would be able to help people who have needs for help.
I just want us to be encouraged by her life.
It is a very exciting time, exciting year, especially for us Black women, for us Africans. The Black Panther movie was exceptional. That movie did a lot of things for us Africans, for the Black people, for women in general. You know, I say this year is the year of the woman, you know, where women have found their voice. They feel empowered. People are hearing them. For us designers, it brings an exposure, more exposure to what we are doing, for more appreciation, for the beauty that we bring out from our, you know, our prints, our heritage, and everything that we celebrate. We have our collection being inspired by you know, our heritage. We call it the Heritage Collection. And we're going to see a lot of stories that come with fabrics or texture or designs. Everywhere I go, I am fascinated by fabric, textile, especially the indigenous ones that come from the culture or has a story to tell. I've been making clothes from childhood, from when I was 12. And so making clothes and designing them is like part of me. I did this business a little bit when I lived in Nigeria, but when I moved to the United States, I have 3 children, and I was raising them, and I didn't think it was the right time. But when I revived it 5 years ago, I realized that I could take it into a brand, you know, let it become a brand. And I started to travel to research, to look into how I could do this. My company has expanded over time, but while I'm doing that, I don't want to forget that I also have that passion to be able to make a difference in the world. When you're passionate about something, you don't see it as work. If you follow your passion, you find your purpose, be sure that what you're doing is what you love to do. So with that focus, with the passion, and with the purpose, I believe that a lot of people can succeed in this competitive world.
Well, and that does it for today. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night. I think we...
Welcome to English in a Minute. American English has many idioms that come from sports. This one comes from tennis.
The ball is in your court.
Jonathan, how did your date with my friend Caroline go?
It went great, but when I texted her, she didn't respond. So I guess it's over.
No, you can't give up like